Hey guys, welcome to Thursday's lecture. So today we're going to be taking a bit of a deeper dive into some of the components of A2. So we did go over the requirements for that assignment on Tuesday's lecture, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about execution of some of these elements. So just a little review of some of the key concepts for A2. We have a stakeholder, which is a person, organization, or institution that has a vested interest in an issue because they have a stake in that issue. So they have something to gain or lose. Exigency is a pressing or urgent situation, and synthesis is making something new by combining different ideas. So in this case, it's outside sources would be combined with your own ideas. And if it's useful to you, I do recommend reviewing the A2 requirements sheet on your own. This can be found at the very top of the Canvas page on modules, and you'll see A2, and it's called the stakeholder proposal. So go ahead and take a look at those assignment requirements and let me know if you have any questions about that. So next, I want you guys to watch the video on this link here. And as you watch the video, jot down a brief description of the problem that you're noticing in the video, and then jot down possible stakeholders for this issue. So when I talk about making rhetorical choices, what I am referring to is a focus on the connection between your purpose and who your audience is. You'll want to consider how to appeal to that audience you've chosen in order to achieve your purpose. So rhetoric is defined as using language and other communication strategies to achieve a purpose with an audience, and that's where that plays in here. So you first want to ensure that you've chosen an appropriate audience, an audience that can carry out that solution you're proposing. And then you'll need to think about how you can appeal to that audience. So what does your audience care about? Sometimes this could require research. If you've chosen someone you're not necessarily super familiar with, it might mean that you have to look into who this person is. It might mean you need to look at, if it's an organization, maybe you'll look at their statement or some written indication of what their purpose is in their business and what they stand for. So things that will give you clues as to what those values are. Because ultimately you need to make sure that your audience feels invested in your solution. So how do we do that? Well, we have audience appeals. So you can appeal to your audience's authority, character, principles, values, and beliefs, their emotions, and their logic. So appeals to authority and character are called ethos. Appeals to emotions or principles, values, or beliefs, these are called pathos, and appeals to logic are called logos. So these are appeals you want to incorporate throughout your proposal. Ideally, you would have at least one of each kind of appeal. So make sure that you do think about how you'll be incorporating these in your argument. So the next activity that I want us to all do in order to practice these sort of audience analysis and appeals is the following. So you really need $50, like right now, and all of your friends are broke like you. Your parents are sick of sending you money and you don't get paid at work for another week. You've been thinking about making rhetorical choices when writing to an audience in your CO 150 class, and you've decided that your best course of action is to try to convince one of your college professors to give you the money. So first, what I want you to do is to choose your audience. So what professor are you going to write to get $50 from? I want you to write your professor's name and the class that you're taking from them at the top of your submission on Canvas. And then I want you to think about who that professor is. So in other words, who is your audience for this letter? What level of information do they have about the subject? So does your professor know what it's like to be a broke college student, and why or why not? And what does your professor value? So maybe you have a professor that you know really loves cats, and you need this money because your cat broke her leg. So that could be a really nice way to incentivize your professor to help you out and give you that $50 because, they'll be saving a cat and they'll be helping you out. So now write that letter to your professor. Craft your letter so that it appeals to your specific audience, considering their level of understanding of the issue and what they value. Your letter should explain the problem, so why you need that $50. It should explain why it's exigent, so why this needs to be addressed now, and it should propose a solution to the problem. So it should explain the solution, why it's beneficial, and what the audience gets from it. And then you'll be submitting that on Canvas, and along with your other homework, which is critically reading the Martin Caparro's article titled Counting the Hungry. This is in your Healthy State Reader. Whoops. After reading it, I want you to examine how the author uses audience appeals. So appeals to authority, emotion, principles, values, beliefs, character, and logic. So those appeals we just talked about, aka ethos, pathos, and logos. And then find at least 2 different appeals that were used in the text and be ready to discuss how those appeals are used in a discussion post next week. Then I want you to watch the video on developing evidence for a specific audience. And as you watch this, consider what kinds of things you need to know about an audience or things that you need to keep in mind when you write for a specific audience. What does development mean, and what does it look like in writing? Then I want you to complete the A2 prep worksheet. This is also on Canvas under week 5 materials. You can download it, fill it in, and submit it as a Word document. And then continue reading articles from the Healthy State Reader so that you can listen to the conversation about the issue that you're thinking about writing for. And then work on identifying a specific problem and see if you can add to your list of stakeholders. So who could you address this paper to as you're thinking about the issue you're going to write about?